Our ocean innovator today has taken upon the challenge to collecting and repurposing difficult waste streams such as cigarette butts, dirty diapers, and used chewing gum. He's the founder and CEO of TerraCycle. This global foundation is recycling the non-recyclable with a goal to eliminate the idea of waste. He is also an author with multiple books and publications. He has won multiple social, environmental, and business awards at the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, and Time Magazine. Everyone, please welcome Tom Szaky, founder of TerraCycle.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Tom. So, getting started, can you tell us what is TerraCycle?
So TerraCycle is simply speaking, a global waste management company. And our mission, as you said earlier in the introduction, is to eliminate the idea of waste. And we do that in three major ways. We try to collect and recycle things that are difficult to recycle, that may end up in our oceans if they're not collected. We then focus on how to integrate unique waste streams like ocean plastic or river plastic back into consumer products so they can have another life. And then the third is we develop reusable systems to try to eliminate waste altogether so it never has to be collected from the ocean or made into something. And we do that today across 20 countries around the world.
Very impressive. And why did you create this foundation in the first place?
Well, so TerraCycle, I started 18 years ago when I was in university, and I wanted to create a for-profit social business that put the mission, which for us is eliminate the idea of waste first, and then figured out how to make money. But we realized a few years ago that there are certain markets, certain regions of the world, like Thailand, that we couldn't easily enter as a for-profit organization, so we created the TerraCycle Foundation, which is a public charity, and through the foundation, we're able to enter emerging countries and bring the type of thinking that we have done in countries like Brazil or France or the US to emerging regions like Thailand and India and so on.
So can you tell us more about your actions?
Yeah, so in our foundation, for example, our first platform was launched in Thailand, where we launched the TerraCycle Thailand Foundation. And there we receive funding from organizations like the Benioff Foundation, the PepsiCo Foundation, Coca-Cola Foundation, and others. And we're able to set up a large number of river cleanup devices where we put machines, floating machines into canals and rivers that capture the waste that is floating in them before it ends up in the ocean. And then we take that collected waste and then recycle it into different products, from new packaging all the way to playgrounds and other things as locally as possible.
And who are your members?
So if you think about the people TerraCycle, either as a foundation or as a mission-driven for-profit business influence, we get funding typically from brands and retailers, sometimes the government, but usually brands and retailers. And then the people who action our platforms are usually individuals who care about these topics, all the way to folks that are just consuming in their favorite supermarket.
And so what do you need, and how can we help you?
So I think the most important thing that TerraCycle needs is people, come be aware of us and learn about us. You can do that by visiting the TerraCycleFoundation.org website or TerraCycle.com to learn more and to take part. And you can take part as an individual, participating in one of our platforms in a country where you may live. We can also take part if you work at a corporation and partner with us. So please do check us out and learn about us, and we'd love to hear from you and figure out how to involve you in our platform. Today there are over 250 million people in the world who are somehow participating in a TerraCycle system somewhere, and so you may already be, and thank you if you are, and if not, love to have you involved.
Tom, why did you decide to focus on Thailand rivers?
Well, it's similar to what you said, Vic, earlier in the introduction, where while 20, 30 years ago, the waste from the oceans came from everywhere around the world, it has now narrowed to come from mostly Southeast Asia and Africa. And so we wanted to bring solutions to those regions so that they could also stop contributing to the ocean plastic problem. But it's so important to understand that even the city of New York used to be dumping all of its garbage into the ocean up until the early 1980s. So this is a global issue. It just happens that the active contribution now has shifted to newly emerging regions.
And how you're resolving the problem?
Well, I wouldn't say we're solving the problem. That's so important because the solution to the problem comes from consumers consuming differently. Remember, we vote for the future we want with what we buy, and that is also what ends up creating waste. So in Thailand, we're not necessarily solving the reason of the problem, but we're at least trying to clean up the problem before it ends up in our oceans by cleaning canals and rivers. But to solve the issue, we also have to encourage people to buy differently. And we have different platforms that we're deploying for that as well. But you need to think about how do you solve ocean plastic by what people buy and how it enters the ocean, and then how do we clean up the ocean? All three of those things are very important to happen in parallel.
How did you manage to build local collaboration with Thailand?
Yeah, so one of the important things here is to think about how to cooperate with companies on a global basis. Many companies will have global headquarters where they are managing all of their locations around the world, and so that's how we usually enter such partnerships. It's not necessarily locally, but at the global level, and then we align on how to enter into the market, leveraging their expertise as well as ours. And really the important part here on partnerships is not just to focus on what's important to you. So for me, what's important is eliminating the idea of waste. But to some of these companies, other things may be important. And it's very important to honor what makes them, what they have to think about, what makes funding for them get released, and think about how to show them how they can achieve what is important to them by leveraging what is important to the, in this case, the social business actor, ourselves, but not just to focus on what is important for us.
And why is it critical to involve local population?
Well, because the local population is who needs to end up owning these platforms. You can create these globally, but they have to be implemented and leveraged locally and be important for the local people, or they won't last and they won't be there for many years into the future. So for me, what's important in these projects is not just to create them, but to make sure they have a very long-lasting effect.
And what is your 5-second slogan message you would like to give to our audience?
That that you vote for the future you want, that you want to live in with what you buy.
And there we go. That was Ocean Innovators release number 4, celebrating 10 years to achieve United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Don't forget to press the bell button to subscribe, and we will see you next time.